Please turn with me to John chapter 11, the Gospel of John chapter 11. And here the beginning of this very glorious sign the Lord would give of raising Lazarus from the dead, and to show, to back up his claim where he says, I am the resurrection and the life. But this first portion really preparatory, setting the scene. But the Lord Jesus, wonderfully demonstrating he is in control of all the events, knowing precisely what is going to come to pass, ordering his own steps in what he knows will come to pass. And though deliberately delaying, deliberately in one sense, letting Lazarus die, yet all ultimately for a greater and glorious purpose. And very helpful for us as his people, as his children, as his friends, as Mary and Martha and Lazarus were, that the Lord does at times delay in helping. We may pray and the Lord may delay his help for his good and wise and glorious purposes. But here and everything really here to encourage us that he is never taken by surprise. He has all things in control. And in one sense, it is out of love to Mary and Martha and Lazarus and to us that he orders things as he does. And though certainly Mary and Martha, it was painful for them the few days that they were without the Lord, yet they, as in one sense, his own friends, chosen to graciously bear that sorrow, but ultimately so that he would be wonderfully glorified and they would be wonderfully encouraged and their faith in him vindicated. And so, in a small way, for all of us, in all the trials that we face, the Lord never leaves us. The Lord does hear our cries, and though he may appear to delay, yet he will eventually, at some point, come and deliver. But I'll just go through this first part because there is much that we can learn. Now a certain man was sick, named Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. It was that Mary which anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Now, although John may be simply in one sense making it clear which Bethany it was and who were Mary and Martha and Lazarus, and who in particular was Mary, because there were many Marys, a common name at the time, and so that we may know without doubt that the Mary or the woman in chapter 12 anointing the Lord's feet was this same Mary. But I think it is interesting that Bethany is called simply the town of Mary and her sister Martha, that in one sense, and just as an oblique point, the Lord takes note of his people in particular areas, and he knows that where we live, that village, that town, is the village of so-and-so and so-and-so, of his own children. And that, in one sense, is what is important to the Lord. It's not to say that his mercy does not extend to all, and his common grace does not extend to all, but he does, I believe, take particular note of his own children in particular places, and will bless and will preserve for the sake of his children, and very precious it is too. Lazarus is sick. We don't know what sickness he had, but simply that obviously it was quite severe. And the two sisters very simply send this precious message to the Lord. Therefore his sisters sent unto him, saying, Lord, behold, he whom thou lovest is sick. Now we don't know where the Lord was. We don't know how far he was, whether it was a day's journey, 2 days' journey. We simply don't know. But they sent a messenger to tell him that Lazarus was sick. But it is precious the way that it is their message is given, Lord, trusting in him, acknowledging him as the Lord, as the one who is over all. They're not going to compel him or command him to do precisely what they want, but to leave it in his hands. Lord, behold, or consider, look, he whom thou lovest is sick. They knew Lazarus was his friend, the Lord was Lazarus's friend, that he loved Lazarus, and that they simply wished to inform him that Lazarus was sick, trusting in the Lord's power, yes, but also trusting in his love for Lazarus. And we may, in one sense, do precisely the same in our prayers. We may and should, in one sense, obviously, pray about all difficulties and all sicknesses, but we may appeal to the Lord's mercy and grace. We may trust in his almighty power, but we may leave the outcome in his hands. It's not that they were without faith, as some would say today. If you're not healed, it's because you don't have faith. No, they had ample faith. They acknowledge him as their Lord. They had very good understanding. Mary shows, in one sense, I believe, when she anoints the Lord's feet or his head with the ointment, he says, she has done it for my burial, implying that she understands what he is going to do, to suffer and to die. And certainly they believed him to be the Son of God. But they looked to him and trusted in his mercy, in his goodness. And they don't deviate from that at all. When he comes to them, they reaffirm their faith that, Lord, if you had been here, our brother would not have died. My brother had not died, says Martha, but not as a means, a way of reproof or anger or bitterness, but they will trust the Lord. And we do well to do the same in all the difficulties that we face. We must pray and inform the Lord, not that he doesn't know, but that he would have us to pray and to call upon him and to look to him, but to trust in his goodness and in his help, and ultimately in his almighty power. But we cannot sort of shout and command the Lord in a sort of demanding way that he must act in this way or that way, but rather to trust in his goodness and in his care, not only for the one for whom we pray, but for us as his own children. And no doubt also the Lord does consider and bear in mind Mary and Martha, as well as Lazarus. But the Lord, when he receives the message, shows that he knows precisely what is going to happen. When Jesus heard that, he said, this sickness is not unto death, but for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified thereby. He knows what is going to happen. He has planned it. It will be for his glory, not only for the glory of God the Father, but the glory of the Son also, that the Father will be glorified, the Son will be glorified in his raising of Lazarus from the dead. And ultimately, And I know at times it may seem hard. Ultimately, all the trials that we face are for the glory of God. We have fears and we are afraid that things will get too much for us. And often the Lord does not allow things to get too much for us. But whatever trials do come to pass, ultimately the Lord will deliver and will bring us through. It's not to lessen our faith in the Lord, even if it is at the end, at the last, at the resurrection, on the day of judgment, that his people, those who have maybe lost their lives for the faith, the Lord did not deliver them, yet they will be wonderfully vindicated and the Lord will be glorified one day on that day, and not ultimately unto eternal death in any sense for the believer. But the Lord knows, and the Lord has planned, the Lord has all things in his control. And we have this precious verse 5. Now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. When he had heard, therefore, that he was sick, he abode 2 days still in the same place where he was, lest we think, oh, the Lord is being uncaring or lacking in affection towards them. No, we are specifically told Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus, and we read elsewhere in Luke of him visiting their home and commending Mary's devotion to listening to him, and then again being with them in the next chapter and so on. But we're told specifically here, now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. And we must remember that we are beloved of the Lord. And though we are tried, and though the Lord does bring difficulties into our lives from time to time, does not mean he does not love us. Whom the Lord loveth, he chasteneth. We should worry if we never had any problems. That would be the difficult thing to face. The world, in one sense, is allowed to go on its way. We're getting rich and famous or having many, many pleasures, and without great difficulties or trials. And they should be worried because the Lord, in one sense, leaves them to their own way and does not challenge them. But it is never a sign of the Lord taking away his love, though we face difficulties and trials, but rather the Lord, in one sense, it's not spoken specifically here, but one sense it is implied that because he loved them, he stayed 2 days, he remained where he was, so that they would see more of his glory. And the Lord, it is far better to commit our ways and our burdens to the Lord. Though we may seek, it's not, the Lord doesn't forbid us seeking human helps, but the Lord is the one who has the greatest of love toward us, and he will never disappoint us, nor let us down, though he may for a while delay, and he does delay, but he very specifically says of him, now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. They are, in one sense, his servants, and they are called to wait upon him. And we, in one sense, are called to wait upon him in the difficulties that we face in this world. But he does not mean he does not love us. So he stays, so he remains, and then after 2 days, he decides to go into Judea. Then after that, saith he to his disciples, let us go into Judea again. His disciples say unto him, Master, the Jews of late sought to stone thee, and goest thou thither again? They're not saying, we shall not go, you shall not go. They're not commanding him, and the Lord does not reprove them for it, but they are questioning, you're going back to Judea, but the Jews recently, as we read in chapter 10, sought to stone you. Is that wise in one sense, though they don't even say that? But he explains, Jesus answered, are there not 12 hours in the day? If any man walk in the day, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world. But if a man walk in the night, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him. Which is a very helpful saying, if we understand it. Are there not 12 hours in the day? Now, the experts tell us that the Jews always had 12 hours in the day from sunrise to sunset. But as in the seasons, sunrise was slightly earlier, sunset slightly later, so their hours would expand or contract, but there would always be, to them, 12 hours in the day. And daylight would be 12 hours long. So in that sense, he is saying, are there not 12 hours in the day? There are always for them 12 hours of daylight. And if any man walk in the day, in the light, he stumbleth not, because he seeth the light of this world, because he walks in the light of the sun. But he is obviously speaking figuratively, that the Lord, if we walk in God's will, according to the light of God's word given to us, we have, in one sense, an allotted time, 12 hours in this world, in this life, that will not be taken away. We have an allotted time that no man can take away from us. The Lord, as he has spoken of him earlier, they tried to kill him, but it was not his time. And it is the same, and he applies it to everybody. If any man, there is an allotted time for all of us. Now again, we don't tempt the Lord, we're not foolish, but there is an allotted time that is set in the Lord's plan and purpose, and we cannot be taken away from this world until that time in the Lord's plan comes to pass. And if we walk in the light, walk in the light of the Lord, he will preserve us and keep us until that day. There is the warning, but if a man walk in the night, he stumbleth, because there is no light in him. And I believe, meaning if we are away from the Lord, we don't know the Lord, as sadly many don't. We walk in darkness, they stumble, they fall, they hurt themselves, and they don't know why it is. But it is because they have no real light and have not the light of the Lord to guide them. And yes, their lives do have an end determined by God, and they will not die until that day comes. But it is sad and grievous and difficult for those in the world that have no light, no confidence, but are fearful and hurt themselves by their own folly and so on. But if we walk in the light, walk with the Lord, though we are far from perfect, though we are weak, we, by God's grace, will not fall, will not be lost, not be taken away. And he is saying, I will be safe. It is not time, yet time. It is not the end of the 12 hours. I will be safe. The Lord, my heavenly Father, will protect me. And therefore we may go to Judea. We may go and seek to help Lazarus. So he, and then he explains, these things said he, and after that he saith unto them, Our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may awake him out of sleep. Then said his disciples, Lord, if he sleep, he shall do well. They don't understand. They think he is literally asleep. And this is common knowledge. It is good to sleep when we are sick. But the Lord tells them plainly, howbeit Jesus spake of his death, but they thought that he had spoken of taking of rest in sleep. Then said Jesus unto them plainly, Lazarus is dead, but I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, to intent ye may believe. Nevertheless, let us go unto him. He knows precisely that Lazarus was dead, all known to the Lord, everything that was going on. He knew that Lazarus was dead. He knew he had delayed so that Lazarus would in one sense die, and that when he would come to Bethany, it would be 4 days he had been in the tomb, so that the miracle would be all the greater and all the harder to refute. But all in his plan, all in his purpose, all for ultimately for Lazarus' good, for Mary and Martha's good, and for his own glory. And we dare not distrust the Lord. There are many questions we may have, but we dare not distrust the Lord. You look at the world at this time, if we were believers in Afghanistan, I might think, why has the Lord allowed the Taliban back? Why will we have to flee? Or why do we face death if we remain? But we dare not mistrust the Lord. The Lord has his good purposes in all things, and we are his servants, and he does not take his love from us. We must pray, we must look to him, we must cast our cares, our burdens upon him, but we dare not distrust his wisdom. And ultimately, Lazarus was raised, and ultimately the Lord was vindicated, and ultimately all the Lord's people will be raised and will be vindicated. Ultimately, we will all be delivered from the trials that we are in, that we face. We may not know how it will be, but the Lord is almighty. We cannot often understand quite how the Lord can help us, but we may pray, we may simply pray, Lord, help me, help us, and go on praying it, and the Lord will in due time answer and deliver, and it will be all the more glorious because of it. The verse that we read, Psalm 27, at the end of Psalm 27, it is a remarkable psalm. It's remarkable, David's courage that he shows in it. But there is at the end, I'll just read the first verse. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Who shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? David could say such a things, and we also can say such things. Not that we may be called to be as David, but he will, the same truths are true for every believer. But we also must, at the end, verse 14, wait on the Lord. Be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. We must wait, we must abide, and we must be of good courage, hold fast to the Lord and to his promises, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Now I know, and we will all have matters that we are waiting on the Lord about. And it is often the hardest thing to do, to wait on the Lord, but the Lord, in his goodness, shuts us up into a position where we can do nothing but wait on the Lord. But it teaches us to trust him, teaches us to wait upon him, and to be of good courage, not to be disheartened, because he will most certainly deliver. And I'm sure all these verses given to us to encourage us that the Lord, our Saviour, is sovereign over all, and that he loves us and has good purposes for us. But there are at times when we must wait upon him, and he plans and purposes all things for our good. And far, far better to be shut up with the Lord in one sense, waiting upon him in difficulties, than to have all the prosperity of the world, all the supposed liberty of the world, though it's not liberty at all, but being in bondage to sin. But far better to be trusting the Lord and to know his help and his deliverance. It is a gracious testimony to him that we can depend upon him, and that others can see that we are depending upon him, though we face difficulties. It is a wonderful witness of our faith, and a witness to the world that they marvel at. And here, in one sense, the Lord has those who would appear to be his close friends as those whom he chooses for this privilege. Truly, it was, I'm sure, painful for Mary and Martha, and we will endure sorrows and difficulties, but ultimately the Lord will deliver. But I must just conclude. Thomas, verse 16, then said Thomas, which is called Didymus, which means the twin. Then said Thomas, which is called Didymus, unto his fellow disciples, let us also go, that we may die with him. It is a fascinating insight into Thomas's character and faith, despairing on the one hand, but trusting the Lord and willing to go with him, thinking, yes, we will die with him, but I will go with him. And that the Lord knows us. We may and do have such thoughts at times. We think all is up, and it all will be ended, as it were. But we will hold fast to the Lord. And if we hold fast to the Lord, ultimately we will not be disappointed. The Lord is a wonderful, a gracious Saviour, a wonderful Lord, best master to have in this world. And though he try us, yet he will bring us safely through. It cannot be that a believer who is united to the Lord Jesus Christ will not ultimately be vindicated. I'd like to see it as a ball or something that you put in water and you press it down and you let go, and immediately it rises up again. We are united to the one who is risen. We are one with him. Cannot be that ultimately we should be overcome by whatever presses us down in this world. He has the victory. He will not suffer his people to not likewise have that victory. And we do well to hold fast to him. Death could not hold him. It was impossible for death to hold him. And ultimately, it will be impossible for death to hold his people down. And may he help us. May he help us to trust in him, to look to him, to trust in his wisdom, in his sovereign plan and purpose, and to know his gracious deliverance. Amen. Now our last hymn is number 517. Oh, teach me what it meaneth.